Good evening, folks. I'm going to take a look in this video just briefly at the first annotated bibliography sample to show you really what it does well, what it could do better, to kind of make you aware of some of the pitfalls that you may encounter when creating your own. Okay, so this is the first one. Let me make it a little bit larger here, and of course you have access to this document, or will have access to this document in your week 2 folder. So we look here, what this person does well indicates the research question right off. Obviously, in terms of research questions, if you have been following my research question videos and looking at research question material, you know that perhaps this research question could be a bit more detailed, and so on, but it suffices as, a research question. So next we have the first entry. This is not, obviously what they're doing is, or they're making an attempt at MLA. This is not correct here. Okay, what this person does well, and obviously they're using probably a subpar citation machine to do their work, and right off they get themselves into a predicament because they're obviously not using the library databases, because if they were, they could have just cut and paste from the library databases. And I'll include some of the resources as well in the week 2 folder for you to have at your disposal when looking at how to format MLA and APA and so forth. You've already got some with the annotated bibliography how-to videos, right? So that'll work. The annotation here, though, is nice. Okay, they did, from my point of view, they could have made it more detailed in terms of the actual content, the actual significance, right? How is this particular source going to be useful? Be as specific as you can with that, because it's going to help you later on when you're writing your report and when you're writing your argument piece. Okay, but as annotations go, this is passable, right? So this is actually what they do fairly well. Here we have this next entry we see is a complete, it's fairly complete, right? As far as the shall we say bibliographic aspect. Okay. Then we have the annotation again. Nice example there. Here we start to run into some problems, because now they're switching from MLA to something that looks like it's APA, right? You don't want to do that, okay? You don't want to do that. You don't want to switch citation forms, okay? Which is exactly what they've done here. You want to maintain consistency. So if you begin your annotated bibliography with MLA, you want to continue through your annotated bibliography with MLA. I will tell you, or APA, whatever the case may be, I will tell you that realistically speaking, okay, you can have mistakes in your in the bibliographic aspect, in the bibliographic entries, right? In your annotated bibliography or in a works cited page, if, right, it looks right. Okay, the key is to make sure that it looks right. Okay, most of your instructors are not going to be going over every bibliographic entry with a fine-tooth comb and go, oh, they have a comma out of place, and so on and so forth. That's a B or whatever. Most of your instructors are not going to do that kind of thing. Most of your instructors are scanning it to make sure that you have the concept down, that you know what you're doing. If it looks like you know what you're doing, they're not as likely to pick out small mistakes. If, as in this instance, right, you go from one citation system to another, or you you clearly leave out, there are clearly gaping holes in your entries, right? For example, this one, there's no publisher indicated and anything like that, but clearly the publisher is in the URL. It's even in here, SeaWorld, right? That's, so again, you want to make sure that you're giving the most complete representation of a bibliographic entry that you can. You don't want to cut corners on purpose, but what I'm saying is if it looks correct, it's more likely to be perceived as correct. I mean, I know people who just totally, fudged their bibliography for their master's thesis, for example, and it wasn't caught, right? Why? Because the entries looked correct. So keep that in mind. So the takeaway from this sample number 1, right, is to make sure that you are consistent with your bibliographic entries, i.e., if you start with MLA, make sure that you continue with MLA. If you start with APA, make sure that you continue with APA. And also make sure that those entries are as complete as possible. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next sample, which will be in another video.